Thank you. Yeah. Again, we talk about the volume of solid of revolution, and this is another application of definite integral. For today, I'm gonna teach you how to solve problems involving volume. Now, you know that the volume of a cylinder is pi r square h. That's the area of the base times the height. The volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r square h, and the volume of the sphere is equal to 4/3 pi r cube. And yeah, and this were obtained by some concepts of definite integral. And again, when we have a rectangular region here, and when you revolve over a certain axis of revolution is any line that you can draw on the plane, and you will generate a cylinder, a right circular cylinder. It is right circular cylinder because of this one. This forms a right angle. And then when the region is a triangle, you revolve it over here, so you'll generate this solid, okay, and it's a right circular cone. And obviously, when we have a region semicircle, you'll generate a sphere. So this cylinder, cone, and sphere, they are called solid of revolution because they were obtained when the region is revolved a certain axis of revolution. So let's define a solid of revolution. A solid of revolution is a solid obtained when the region bounded by different curves is revolved about a certain axis of revolution. It is a solid obtained by revolving a region in a plane about a line on the same plane called the axis of revolution. And there are three methods on how to find the volume of solid of revolution. The first one is by cylindrical disc. Yeah, you hear it right? It's a disc. No, it's like a plate. Yeah. And the other one is a washer or ring. Yeah, it's a ring. It's just like a ring, just like this. And the other one is a shell by shell method, cylindrical shell method. Okay. For the first part, the cylindrical disc, you recall that the volume of a cylinder is area of the base times the height, and it happens to be that the base is a circle, so therefore it's pi r square. That's the area of the circle, and then times the height. This is the height from the center of the opposite bases. Okay, and then this one is the radius. Okay, let's draw a region bounded by y equals f of x and the line L and two vertical lines x equals a, x equals b. And I will let this line L to be the axis of revolution. So the region is this much, okay? Again, that is bounded by the curve y equals f of x, the line L, that's the axis of revolution, and two vertical lines x equals a, x equals b. So when you revolve this over this line, okay, so it will have an image here, and it will look like this. And then you just put something like this, an accent to make it a little more solid, a three-dimensional solid plotted on a two-dimensional plane. Yeah, so it will look like this. Now, so we draw an element. It's rectangular element chosen is vertical. So one important thing you need to consider to use this method, the rectangular element, it should be perpendicular to the axis of revolution. On this particular illustration, the axis of revolution is horizontal, and therefore I took an element rectangular, which is vertical. Okay, so that's why you'll be using this method. Okay, if the axis of revolution is vertical, then you draw an element that is horizontal so that you can use this method. Okay, and another thing you need to consider is the relationship between the element and the axis of revolution. And you can see here that the element is touching the axis of revolution or the other way around. Remember that the axis of revolution is one of the boundaries. Yeah, the axis of revolution is one of the boundaries of the region. That's why when you draw an element perpendicular to it, it will always touch the axis of revolution. Let's now compute for the volume. Again, this is the rectangular element. This is the axis of revolution. And these are the two boundaries that will serve as our limits of integration. So we are computing the volume from this point until here. Okay. So again, yeah. So the idea is just like say, let me think of an example. Okay. Yeah. And you know a Mentos, yung Mentos mint candies na nasa tube.
Opo.
Okay.
Yes po,
It's
sir.
like
Opo.
just this is a perfect example of the cylindrical disc method. 'Di ba? It's yung laman niya, okay? Ganyan na pinipitik natin kapag pag kumukuha tayo, something like that. So yan yung disc. Or just like a hot dog o sausage. So then ito yung kanyang stick, and then what are you going to do is you just divide it like this. So you'll have this much. Another one. Sorry. Here. Okay, this much. And that's the idea of the disc method. So you divide this by series of cylinders or series of discs. Okay. So the volume can now be computed as V1 plus V2 plus V3 running until Vn. Okay. And you know that the volume of a cylinder is pi r square h, and we took a representative cylinder. Ito yon. This is the representative cylinder taken from here, say this one. Kinuha natin siya, and then we will be computing for the volume of this cylinder. So this is your R, and this is your Xi. So this is your I minus 1, and this is your Xi. So which means this much, the width, or the height, sorry, the height of the cylinder can be computed as Xi minus Xi minus 1, which is your delta I of x. So this is the height. The height is represented by delta I of x. And how about your R? So your R, this part of the cylinder, this is your function f of x. So your R is equal to f of x. Okay, and again, this is the axis of revolution. If the axis of revolution is the line y equals 0, then it's f of x minus 0. Okay, then we do it. Again, this is the volume. And you know that the volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. So you have a1 of x delta 1x plus a2x delta 2x running until a(n)x delta n of x. And how do we write the area? Area is equal to pi r square, which means a1 is equal to pi r1 square, a2 is pi r2 square, and an is equal to pi rn square. And you got this. Okay, and this Riemann sums can be written in summation notation of this form. Yeah, that's summation of pi r sub I square delta sub I x, where I runs from 1 to n. Okay, and then what are we going to do? Just to approximate the volume here and to eliminate some errors here, which is not part of the computation. Yeah, so we will be using infinitely many number of cylinders, and if that happens, then this cylinder become thinner and thinner. So maliliit na yung cylinder na yan, and therefore the height will approach 0. The delta x, that's the height, will approach 0 as the number of cylinders used increases up to positive infinity. So what are we going to do? You know the drill. So we will take the limit of that function. And then when this limit function and this summation notation happen to go together, you can now write it as volume equals pi, the integral of r squared dx, evaluated from a to b. Okay, where r, this r, is equal to y upper minus y lower if you are taking element that is vertical, which means the axis of revolution is horizontal. You take this down. This is the first formula. Okay, which means if you take element that is horizontal, meaning axis of revolution vertical, the volume is equal to pi, integral from c to d r square dy. Again, dx, dy depends on the element you are choosing. If you take element horizontal, associate it with dy. If you take element vertical, associate it with dx. Where r here is x right minus x left. Yeah. So this is the first set of formula. And then by theorem 1, it follows that if the function f is a continuous function on the closed interval AB, and we assume that f of x greater than or equal to 0 for all x in the closed interval AB, and if S is the solid of revolution obtained by revolving about the x-axis. You know that the equation of the x-axis is y equals 0. So that's why when you take the y upper, y lower thing, yeah, so this is your f of x. This is the line y equals 0. And it happens to be, this is the axis of revolution. So when you draw the element, and then you write the y upper, y lower thing, so r, this is your r, this is your dx. It's y upper, that's f of x, minus y lower, that is 0. So that's why r is f of x. F of x squared dx, integral from a to b. Okay. Now, but what if the axis of revolution is no longer the x-axis, but any line? This is a remark from this theorem. Okay. So we know that the axis of revolution can be any line, say y equals x naught or x sub 0 for any constant x naught or x sub 0. Okay. So if the line y equals x sub 0 can be found on below. Okay. So you have r is f of x minus, you just trace it down, the equation of this line, x naught. That is your r. So the volume is pi integral from a to b, then r, f of x minus x naught square dx. So that's how you do it. Then, if you can find it here above, so this is your r, you trace it from here. So you have r is x naught minus this f of x. Okay, so volume is equal to pi integral from a to b, then r happen to be x naught minus f of x square dx. Can you still hear me?
Yes po.
Yes, bro.
Thank you. And then this is another set of formula, sorry. Okay, then let's talk about an element, horizontal, axis of revolution, vertical. Okay, this time we'll be using the g of y, and this is defined on the closed interval is CD for all y in the closed interval CD, and then if the region is obtained by revolving about the y-axis. Equation of the y-axis, x equals 0. So something like this. Y equals c, y equals d, then this is the function g of y. So again, this is the y-axis, x equals 0, happen to be the axis of revolution. So this is your r from here until here is your r, and this one is your dy. That's your delta y. So r is equal to x right, that's g of y, minus x left happen to be 0. So that's why the volume is equal to pi integral from c to d, g of y square dy. And you got this. So again, the question is, what will happen? You take a screenshot if you want to. What will happen if the axis of revolution is no longer the y-axis? Happen to be any line x equals y naught or y sub 0 for any constant y naught. Okay? If the axis of revolution is found on the right side of the function, like this. So r is equal to x right, so that's y naught, minus, you trace it to the left, and this is touching g of y. So the volume is pi integral from c to d y naught minus g of y square dy. That's how you write the volume. And if it is located on the left side, okay, so r equals x right, so that's g of y minus x left, that's y naught. So volume is equal to pi integral from c to d g of y minus y naught square dy. And this is the fourth set of formulas. Yeah. Basta you recall the y upper, y lower, x right, x left thing. For this method, that is your r. R is y upper. So this is hold on. You just ignore that part. So this is the general formula, actually. So volume by this method. Come on. Pi integral from a to b, then that's r square dh. Where r, dito na lang, sige. Where if you use element vertical, which means the axis of revolution is horizontal. Okay? So where r is y upper minus y lower, and dh is dx. And when you take element horizontal, it means that the axis of revolution is vertical. And they are touching each other. So r is x right minus x left, and dh is dy. Okay? Again, dx, dy, the differential operator depends on the element. Okay? And r also depends on the element drawn on the region. Okay? Let's take some example. You take the screenshot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Next. And here are the steps. I'm just going to add one more step. Diba, I presented to you the step on how to find the area of region bounded by different curves. So ito, dadagdagan ko lang ng isa. And ito yon. Okay, you identify the region described on the problem. Obviously, you have to trace the curves because that's the first thing you need to do. And that's the first thing I will be checking on your work. The curve, how you trace it. And then you identify the region. Then you choose the element. Either you use vertical or horizontal. And for this particular lesson, when you use cylindrical this method, you take element perpendicular to the axis of revolution. And you have to make sure that the axis of revolution is touching the element. Find the boundaries. And again, these are usually taken from the points of intersections, and that will serve as your limits of integration. Step 5, revolve the region over the axis of revolution. Step 6, you set up the equation for the volume of the given solid, and you integrate. Okay, those are the simple steps. Again, you take a screenshot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give you now an example. Find the volume of the solid generated when the region bounded by x minus y plus 1 equals 0, y equals 0, x equals 0, and x equals 1. So you have an equation here. X minus y plus 1 equals 0. Let me just tell you, I will not focus more on the graphing part. The focus of this lesson is on how to, to describe the region, to describe the solid, and how to set up the equation on the integral symbol. Okay, then the integration procedure, you can do it on your own since I will not give you naman yung mga highfalutin expression, yung mga difficult expression, because we can, probably trigonometric substitution is the special techniques that can be applied whenever given a radical expression. But it's not, madadali lang yung mga expression on the integral symbol. So what are you going to do to trace it is you just use these points, these values, you replace it here, and then you solve for another value. So if y is 0, it follows that x minus 0 plus 1 is 0, x is negative 1. If x is 0, 0 minus y plus 1 is 0, y is 1. If x is 1, 1 minus y plus 1 is 0, y equals 2. So we have this point, okay, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and 1, 2. And then we trace it out. The x-axis, the y-axis, this is the line y equals 0, the point 0, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and 1, 2. And then you trace those points, you have your line y equals x plus 1. Okay? And then this is your x equals 0, y equals 0, the line x equals 1. So how do you describe this region? This region is is bounded by this curve, this line, and this line. And it will look like this. And then you have to take note, the axis of revolution is the x-axis. So you will, and the x-axis is one of the regions. It's one of the boundaries, sorry. The x-axis is one of the boundaries of the region. And you will revolve it. You will revolve it here. Axis of revolution. So you will have an image here. And then you just put an accent like this to make it, you know, solid-like. So that's the solid we are looking for. Okay, and then you identify what element are you going to take, element horizontal or vertical. You use the 3 tests that I taught you last time. So the first test, you try to divide the region and the smallest number of slices shall be used. When you do it horizontal, how many subdivision? How many slices?
2 po, sir.
2 po, okay? Because the boundaries changes from this point and then this point. Okay? And then, if you do it vertical, how many slices?
Isa lang po.
Isa lang po. So, we use vertical element. Yeah. Okay? So, this is how it look like. Dun, 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 dun. That's it. And this is R from this point going to the axis of revolution. And this one is your dx. And you have to take note that the axis of revolution is touching the element. Okay? So we can now draw your R. R is y upper. So that's x plus 1 minus y lower. Happen to be this is y equals 0. So yeah, that's x plus 1. So volume is equal to pi integral of r square dx evaluated from the leftmost x equals 0 to the rightmost x equals 1. And that's it. Okay, right? I'll just show it up. This is very simple. Okay, and therefore you got v equals 7/3 pi. Okay, let's modify that problem. This time, I will make y equals to part of the boundaries, and that will be the axis of revolution. You take a screenshot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Okay. 2. Find the volume of the solid generated when the region bounded by by x minus y plus 1 equals 0, y equals 2, x equals 0, and x equals 1 is revolved about the line y equals 2. Okay? So the axis of revolution now is y equals 2, and that y equals 2 is also one of the boundaries. And again, let me just show you that when x is 0, when y is 0, x is negative 1. When x is 0, y is 1. And when x is 1, y is 2. So therefore, you have 1, 2. Okay? And this is the line y equals 2. That's x equals 1. And this is the line y equals 2. So this is now the region we are referring to. And this is the axis of revolution. So we have this region to be revolved over here. So you'll have an image here. Then this is a right circular cone. So this is your element chosen, vertical. Why is it vertical? Because the axis of revolution is horizontal. Okay? And this is how it look like. That's it. So this is your R. So R, how do you write your R? Can you hear someone? R equals
2
2.
minus x plus 1.
That's it. 2 minus x plus 1. That's y upper. Upper is y equals 2. Lower is x plus 1. So R equals 1 minus x. Yeah. And then you have this. Volume is equal to 1/3 pi. So nagbago na yung volume niya because nagbago yung axis of revolution. Paglayo ng axis of revolution sa region, paglaki ng volume. Paglapit, pagliit. Yeah. Let's modify the same problem. This time, okay? Take a screenshot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this time, we will change the axis of revolution. Let me see. Ito. Oh, ito na lang. Same region. Different axis of revolution. So this time, I'll make use of the y-axis. This is the region. Okay. Again, this is y equals x plus 1. This is the line y equals 4, the x-axis. And this is the y-axis, happen to be your x equals 0. And this is the axis of revolution. So it will now look like this. All right, right. And then the image will be here on the left side. It's still a cone. And then let's see what will happen. So you draw your element. So this time, I will take element horizontal or vertical.
Horizontal po.
Horizontal.
Because
The axis of revolution po is vertical.
that's it. So how do you write your R? Can you now use this equation? Do we need to manipulate this? Okay na ba to, or we need something more appropriate?
Okay na po, sir.
Okay na? Or I have to change it? You have to change this because this is horizontal. You remember that?
Ay, opo, sir.
Nilipat ko
Okay.
yung 1.
Gagawin po
So
X.
what will be the equation? X equals,
Y minus 1.
Y minus
1
1.
minus 1.
that's it. Okay. The structure of the equation to be used depends on the element chosen. If you choose element horizontal, kapag nakahiga, dapat siya ay x equals all in y. Pag nakatayo, dapat siya ay y written in terms of x. Y equals all in x. Tatandaan yun ha. So you have x right, y minus 1 minus x left happen to be this is 0. So that is your R. Then volume is equal to pi integral from R y minus 1 square dy. And then, what will be the limits of integration? Since this is horizontal, you start at the bottom, that's 0, to the top, that's 4. Okay, and then you can now integrate. So you have pi times y minus 1 to the third power, then times 1/3. All right, yeah. And then evaluated from 0 to 4. So you now have pi 1/3 times 4 minus 1. That's 3 raised to third power. Am I right? All right, I think. Yeah. Minus pi over 3. Then 0 minus 1, negative 1 to the third power. You know that this is 27, right? So that's 27 pi over 3 plus this one will become, this is negative 1 cube. That's negative 1. Negative, positive, pi over 3. So this will become 28 pi over 3 cubic units. Okay? Nagbago na ulit yung volume kasi binago natin ang axis of revolution. Next problem. This time, I'll make use of a parabola. Find the volume of the solid when the first quadrant region bounded by y equals x squared, y equals 4, x equals 0 is revolved about the y-axis. Again, the y-axis happened to be x equals 0 and happened to be one of the boundaries. Ibig sabihin, if the axis of revolution, you see it as one of the boundaries, then that's a this method. Okay? Pag hindi, it's another story to tell. It could be washer, you can use the shell, okay? Then let's talk about that later. Y equals x squared is a parabola that opens up, something like this, okay? But this time, we will only be using the first quadrant. So ito lang siya, first quadrant. And this is the line y equals 4, and this is the line x equals 0. And happen to be, this is where we are going to revolve it. Okay, so where can you find the image, the mirror? You can find it right here. Okay, and then accentuate. Yeah, all right. And then you draw an element. What kind of element?
Horizontal po.
Horizontal po.
Horizontal. And then we take note of the points of intersection. What is this point? Oh my, where's my point? Where's my pointer? Where's my cursor? Hold on, wait lang. Then you think of the point of intersection. Can you still hear me? Nawala siya.
Yes po.
What is this point?
2, 4 po.
2,4 po.
2, 4. Hold on na. Yeah, that's it. Then I'll make use of red. So this one is 2, 4. Thank you. Yeah. So therefore, this is your R. And how do you write your R? What equation should be used here? Is it y equals x squared?
X equals square root of y.
Square root of y po.
Because this is horizontal. So R is square root of y minus 0. And therefore, the volume equals pi integral from, this is horizontal, bottommost, 0, topmost, 4. Then R, square root of y minus 0, square dy. So this will become pi 0 to 4, y dy. And then you have y squared over 2 from 0 to 4. And what will be the value? 16 over 2, that's 8. Yeah, so that's 8 pi cubic units. And this is the volume. Okay? Then, ito na lang ang screenshot nyo. Okay, yeah. That's it. And this is the solid. And then, we compute for the volume. Go on. And that's 8 pi. Okay. Then let's modify this problem. Let me rotate it. Let me revolve it over the line. Let me see. X equals 2. Same problem. But this time, I'll keep it first. i-revolve natin siya okay? I-revolve natin siya over the line x equals 2. So, what can you say now? Same region. And what can you say now?
Vertical na po yung
Okay.
element
But,
natin.
this is x equals 2. Can you see it right here?
Hindi po.
Anong
Hindi
ibig
po.
sabihin nun?
Hindi po itong disk method yung gagamitin.
Hindi this method. Why? Because the axis of revolution is no longer one of the boundaries, which means the axis of revolution is no longer touching the element. You get my point?
Yes po.
Yes po,
Okay.
sir.
So that's x equals 2. So ito siya. So this is x equal, doon ko na lang sa taas ilalagay. X equals 2, and this is the axis of revolution. So when you rotate it, it will look like this. This is the region, revolving it over this line. And then you'll have an image here. Sorry if medyo pangit yung drawing. Yan. And then, so that's the solid we are referring to. So what can you say about this? And then, lagyan natin ng konti dito para magmukhang 3D. Okay? Then ito, empty na siya, hollow. Okay? So then, the axis of revolution is vertical, and then you draw an element which is horizontal. Still, I am on a problem wherein the axis of revolution is perpendicular to the element, or the element is perpendicular to the axis of revolution. So naandun pa rin tayo. But this time, they are not touching each other. Okay? Yung mga previous example natin, itong mga to, you can observe that the element is touching the axis of revolution. That's why it is solid, something like this. Can you see this object? Right? So kapag ka tinuhog, ano bang tinuhog sa English? Anyway, pag tinuhog ko siya dito, yeah, that's the axis of revolution. So buo siya. But this example, where's that? This example, yeah, it's something like this. Hollow, may laman pa siya, sorry. Hollow naman siya. You get my point? Ito ay solid yung side, and then empty yung gitna. So ito yung axis of revolution. You get my point? Kita
Yes
niyo?
po.
Kita
Yes
niyo?
po.
Hindi ko kayo nakikita ha. Okay? That's it. That's how we illustrate it. So ibig sabihin, you can no longer use this method. Again, as a review, when do we use this method? When
the element po is perpendicular po to the axis of revolution.
okay, 2,
And the axis of revolution is, the element is touching the axis of revolution.
or the other way around. It's okay. And then 3,
Axis revolution is one of the boundaries, sir.
okay, good. Tatandaan yung tatlong yun ha. And this time, you cannot see other two conditions. Ang nakikita nyo lang dito, the axis of revolution is perpendicular to the element, the axis of revolution, not touching each other. Ibig sabihin, the axis of revolution is no longer one of the boundaries. Okay? And then let's proceed with the cylindrical washer or the ring method. Okay? Circular pala, sorry. Circular ring or the washer method. And let's consider this region to be revolved over this line. Okay? Ito yung axis of revolution, and it will generate this region. And you will observe, di ba last time I asked you to find the area of this circular track? Okay? If this is your small r, and this is your capital R, the big radius, the small radius, how do you find the area of the track? area nito.
Area of the big R po minus area of the small r.
Area of the big circle minus area of the smaller circle. And how do you find the area of the big circle? That's pi capital R square minus area of the small pi small r square. And we will be using this principle here because when I generate this one, this is the element, this is the axis of revolution. They are perpendicular but not touching each other. And then something like this. Yan. It's a bad drawing, sorry. Something like that, okay? So this is the axis of revolution and you will observe that this is empty. It's hollow. Ito yon. Itong part na to, empty yan. Okay? And then you have your small r and then your capital R. And this time, how do you measure the capital R and small r? Since the axis of revolution is horizontal, element is vertical, then small r and capital R still can be measured as y upper minus y lower. Okay? And that's why this is your x-axis. That's happened to be y equals 0. So your small r is y upper g of x minus y lower 0. Capital R, it's measured from here. That is your f of x minus measured until here. That's x-axis, that is 0. By the way, capital R, small r is the distances of the element to the axis of revolution. Small r, the shortest distance of the element to the axis of revolution. Capital R, the farthest distance of the element to the axis of revolution. Shortest distance of the element to the axis of revolution. Farthest distance of the element to the axis of revolution. That's how we define the R. Okay? And then, again, you use the circular ring or the washer method whenever the rectangular element chosen is perpendicular to the axis of revolution and the rectangular element is not touching the axis of revolution because the axis of revolution is no longer one of the boundaries. Okay. It's no longer one of the boundaries. That's why they will never touch each other. And then, this is the representative ring or the washer. And again, ang example natin dyan, real-life example natin is yung candy na polo. Tandaan nyo ba yan? Yung butas ng gitna, yung candy na
Yes po.
polo. Meron pa ba nun? Meron pa ba nun sa market? Eh, hindi na ako nakakakita nun. Okay. So, yun yung example niyan. Di ba, again, pag kumukuha tayo, pinipitik lang natin ganun, and you will get this one. Ito yon. Medyo malaki lang yung butas compare sa polo. But that's the one concrete example of the circular ring or the washer method. So, this is your small r, and this is your capital R, and this is your W or the width, no, and that is dx or dy. It depends on the element chosen. And then you have the volume. That's the that's the area times the height, area of the base times the height, and this Riemann sums can be written in summation notation. One more, since this A can be written of this form. Okay, and then you got this written in summation notation, right? And then again, by using infinitely many washers or ring, then the delta x will approach 0. So you take the limit of that, and this is how we obtain the volume by washer or ring method. So you will use this whenever the element chosen is vertical Thus, the axis of revolution is horizontal and they are not touching each other. One more. Ganito yung illustration yan. Element, axis of revolution. Or, axis of revolution, this is the element. And if the axis of revolution is the x-axis, then this will become 0, minus 0, minus 0. Then the volume is equal to pi integral from a to b f of x square minus g of x square then dx. That's it. And then, what if the axis of revolution is no longer 0? That's the line y equals x naught. So r is equal to y upper, ito yon, that's g of x minus lower, that's x naught. Then capital R, y upper, that's f of x, minus y lower, that's x naught. And then you have this volume. If it is located below, if it's located above, ito, one more. This is the axis of revolution is located below. And if it's located above, so mauuna muna yung x naught minus f of x. Then capital R, x naught minus g of x. And you have this. Okay? And the volume is written of this form. Kasi ang image niya na andito sa taas. Sorry for that. Come on. That's it. Yeah. And for the horizontal element, vertical axis of revolution, this is your small r, this is your capital R. So your small r is x right, g of y, minus 0, capital R. This is f of y, minus this much is 0. So you have this. And then the volume. If it's no longer the y-axis, what will happen? Okay. What will happen? Ito siya. So this is the line x equals y naught. Okay. So that's x right. F of y minus y naught. X right minus x left. G of y minus y naught. Okay. And then you have this volume. If it is located on the left side, if it is located on the right side, the image will fall on this part of the plane. Sorry for the bad drawing. Okay, so you do the same. Small r is, can I hear someone?
Y naught minus f of y po.
And then?
Y naught minus g of y po.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. I hope you're getting this right. Then, okay, right? So we can now solve the problem. Okay, ito yon, I think. Ay, no. Oh, yeah, this one. It's the same problem earlier. And we revolve it over the line x equals 2. And then we draw element that is horizontal. This is your R, small, and this is your big R. And this is the region we are referring to. That's it. Wow. Then I just forgot to draw a base here. Yeah. That's your R, and then your capital R. And then you draw the equation. That's your dy, by the way. Then we draw the equation. Okay? So this is your y equals x squared. What should be the appropriate equation? Because this is horizontal. X equals square root of y.
Square root of y po.
And then, you tell me what is R.
2 minus square root of y po.
And then you tell me what is capital R.
2 minus 0 po.
2 minus 0. Because this is your capital R and this is the endpoint of the element. And it is touching the line x equals 0. Yeah. So you now have this. And then you can now draw your volume. Okay? Right? All right. So, since this is horizontal, we are doing it from here, y equals 0, to the topmost, 4. And then expand. This will become 4. This will become 4 minus 2 square root of y plus y. Then you introduce this part, and it will look like this. Simplifying. Okay? Right? Going on. Integrating. I'll not focus more on this part kasi you know now how to integrate. And that will give us, okay, 40 pi over 3. You take a screenshot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, let's modify this problem again. This time, let's make use of x equals -1 as our axis of revolution. Discard. Modify ulit natin. Ito muna pala. This one, the axis of revolution now is y equals 0. Okay, again, you can see that there's no y equals 0 here. So meaning they will not touch each other. They will not touch each other. The same equation, the same region, but this time different axis of revolution. Okay? So this is now how the solid will look like. Lagi ko tong AE1. Okay? Yeah? So we draw the element, small r, capital R. And then you tell me, so ano na ngayon yung gagamitin nating equation? Will it be y equals x squared or x equals square root of y?
Y equals x squared.
Y equals x squared po.
Okay na to, di ba? Okay. So you give me your r, small.
X squared minus 0 po.
Good. Capital R.
4 minus 0 po.
Okay, that's it. Okay, thank you for those who are participating. Okay. Naririnig ko kayo lahat. Okay. Then, you can now write your volume. Pi from, this is vertical. So you start at the leftmost, 0, to the rightmost, 2. Vertical. So all x. And then, capital R minus small r. Then dx. Then integrating. Let me see. Somewhere here. Yeah, yeah. And you have, it will happen, yeah, that's 128 pi over 5. That's the volume. It's quite large. Okay. Then, try natin yung isa. This time, I'll make use of, it's no longer x equals 2, but y equals -1. Y equals -1. Same region. Okay? But y equals -1. So, paliliitin ko na lang ng konti ha kasi it's quite large na. So ito yung x-axis na andito pa yung y equals -1. So this is the axis of revolution. Therefore, its image will start from here. How far is this to the axis of revolution? You'll do it here also. Huwag yung i-drawing na nakaganito. Okay? kung gaano ito kalayo dito, you do the same para sa kanyang mirror. You get what I mean?
Yes po, sir.
So from here, and then, oops, kailan yan? And then, it's quite large. Yeah. That's it. Okay? So we now, ibig sabihin, butas na din itong gitna. Itong base sa left side. Ito hindi. Pag yung kanina, kung dito nyo siya iikot. Then let's draw our element. We will be using element vertical. Okay? So this is your R, small. And this is your R, big. Then what is your small r? This is the line y equals 4. Small r.
X squared plus 1 po.
Okay, x squared minus negative 1. So you got it right? X squared plus 1. That's it. Capital R.
4 plus 1.
4
minus
plus
negative
1. Yeah, 4 minus negative 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. Right? Yun na, okay na yan. Volume equals pi from nakatayo 0 to 2. Ito yon 0 to 2. Capital R. 5 square minus small r. X squared plus 1 square. Then dx. Okay? So, can you compute the volume on your sheet? This will become what? Pi, 0 to 2, 25 minus x squared minus 2x squared. Oh, x to the 4. 2x squared minus 1. So, magiging 24 na lang siya. So, pi 24x minus x to the 5 over 5 minus 2x cubed over 3 from 0 to 2. So, you will have 0 to 2. Pi, sorry for that. 24 times 2, it's 48. Yeah. Minus 2 to the 5. 32 over 5. Yeah. Minus 2 cubed, it's 8. Times 2, it's 16. Minus 16 over 3 to. Oh yeah, over 3, no? Then the rest will become 0. All right, this is 2x cubed. Yeah, over 3. And then you'll have pi. 15 is the LCD. 15 times 48. You can use your calculator. Am I right? Yeah, 15 times 48. 0, 4, 8, 12, 0, 2, 6, 720. Minus 3 times 32, 96. Minus 15 times 3. Ay, ano pala? Am I right ba? Nga, 15 divided by 5, it's 3 times 32. 15 divided by 3, it's 5 times 16. Right. 16 times 5, it's 90. So you'll have pi, how much? 720.
544 po.
544. Thank you. 544 pi over 15.
Over 15 po.
Okay, thank you. So that's the volume. Okay. Yan, that's it. That's how you will do it by washer method. Okay, screenshot nyo na. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're done?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Next. Okay, any question about the washer and this method? If you're gonna ask me, sir, how do you solve this problem? As for me, as much as possible, I wanna use the shell method actually. It's because the structure of the equation, it's quite, you know, medyo madali ng konti kasi you're just going to multiply something. Unlike sa ring at sa washer, nag-i-square tayo. Doon, multiplication lang. Okay, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng problems na diniscuss natin previously can be solved using shell method. Okay? So lahat ng problems pwede nating balikan, then i-verify natin yung ating sagot by applying the shell method. And most specifically kapag talaga like this one, no? You remember this problem, yung y equals 3x minus x squared and y equals x. Tandaan nyo to sa area. Hello, you still remember this? Diba, sinolve natin to using vertical element at saka horizontal element. I am referring to the problem in area.
Okay.
Okay? So how do we solve this? Diba, two ways. Medyo mahaba nung horizontal at maikli nung vertical. So now, if I use this as my axis of revolution, so ito yung itsura niyan. Okay? So ano yung appropriate na technique to be used? One more. Without this, without the solid. So what is the appropriate technique to be used to solve the area of this region? It's horizontal or vertical?
Vertical po.
Vertical.
po.
So, ibig sabihin, it's always vertical. Kasi yun yung madali. So, ibig sabihin, if this is the axis of revolution, then the element chosen should be perpendicular to the axis of revolution. What method shall be used here to solve for the volume?
Washer method po.
Okay, washer.
Okay po.
Okay. And the next, if I make use this as my axis of revolution. So, ibig sabihin, the image is on the other side. You can see it right here, the image. Okay? And then, we're going to take element that is vertical. So, meaning, the element, what can you say about the element and the axis of revolution? Is parallel to the axis of revolution. So in this case, we're now going to use the shell method. Okay. Sir, bakit po hindi pwedeng perpendicular? Kasi mas komportable ako sa Pwede naman sa perpendicular. Mahaba nga lang. You remember how we solve it using horizontal, di ba? Kasi kung ito yung axis of revolution mo, so dalawang hati yan. Volume 1 at volume 2. Okay? Medyo mahirap yan. Kasi, like this one, no? So, although makukuha nyo pa rin, you'll get the same answer naman. Okay? Let's talk about the shell method. And this is how we use the shell method. And these are the sum of the conditions. Oops. Yan. This method, rectangular element is perpendicular to the axis of revolution. Element is touching the axis of revolution. Washer, rectangular element is perpendicular to the axis of revolution. Element not touching the axis of revolution. Shell method. Rectangular element is parallel to the axis of revolution. Can you see there's no more condition that follow? Okay? Kasi regardless whether the element is touching or not touching the axis of revolution, then you can still use the shell method. Okay? Basta ang condition lang ng shell method, the element chosen is parallel. Okay? Ang idea nito, like a banana trunk, yung puno ng saging. 'Di ba yung puno ng saging pwede yung ganitohin, yung hugot, yung you get one, yung may layer sa iloob. You're getting my point? There's layer.
Opo.
Apo, sir.
Opo.
Yes po.
Ay, yung ganito. Yan, maliit. Tapos sa loob nitong maliit, meron pa. That's the idea of the shell method. And we're going to illustrate it this way. Yan yun. You see this? Paano ko to biniak kanina? Same yan eh. Di ba? Paano ko siya hinati-hati kanina? Di ba? Pag ganito ang hati ko kanina. Yan. Ito naman, pag ganito naman yung hati. You can see it right on the figure. It's just like a banana trunk na hinuhugot-hugot natin yung layer ng banana trunk. So this is the representative cylinder. Say ito yung kinuha ko. Yun. Ito siya. So this is your R, and this is your delta R, and this is your H. And then we will be using the volume equal to circumference of the base times the thickness, okay? And the height. That's it. That's the volume. So the volume is equal to the product of the circumference of the base, that's 2 pi r, because that's a circle, times the height, times the thickness. Kasi may thickness na ngayon siya. Okay? Yeah. Regardless whether the element is touching or not touching the axis of revolution. So volume is equal to 2 pi r h delta r. Or that's 2 pi rh dr. Yan yun. And this is how we write it in Riemann sums. So since this is the first cylinder, ito yun. The second cylinder, ito naman siya. Yung medyo malaki ng konti. The third and the fourth until you reach the nth element. And you can write it this way. Yeah. So again, these Riemann sums can be written in summation notation. Okay, and then what happened? We will be using infinitely many cylinders. Okay, as n approaches infinity, then the delta r approaches 0. And we have this. We have to take the limit of it. And ito na ngayon siya. So this is the volume by cylindrical shell. Where r, you take note of this, r is the distance of the axis of revolution to the element. Or r is the distance of the element to the axis of revolution. Where r is equal to x if the axis of revolution is the y-axis, and r equals y if the axis of revolution is the x-axis. And h is y upper minus y lower, or x right minus x left. Y upper minus y lower if you are using element vertical, axis of revolution vertical. X right minus x left, element horizontal, axis of revolution also horizontal. dr should be dx if you are using this condition, and dy if you are using this condition. Malinaw? Ulitin ka? Sa mas malaki? Hold on. Yan. Ulitin natin ha. R. Nandito naman yata. Hold on. Oh, no. R, distance of element to axis of revolution. R equals x if and only if AR is the y-axis. And R equals y if and only if the axis of revolution is the x-axis. And H is y upper minus y lower, x right minus x left. Y upper minus y lower if you are choosing element vertical, meaning axis of revolution also vertical. X right minus x left, element horizontal, also axis of revolution horizontal. Can you still hear me?
Yes po.
Okay.
Opo.
And dr should be dx if you are using this, and dr should be dy if you are using this one. Okay. You take a screenshot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done? Okay. And then, ito yung theorem. That's it. This is when you take element parallel na nakatayo. Yeah, which you hear it right earlier. Then ito naman yung nakahiga. Okay. Yan, and this is anyway. So ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Use cylindrical shell method to find the volume to solid generated when the region bounded by y equals 3x minus x squared and y equals x is revolved about the y-axis. Again, this is a parabola that opens downward with vertex at 3 halves, 9/4, passing through the point 0, 0, and 3, 0, I think. Yeah. Yan. Which we have already discussed this last time. That's why what I'm going to do here is I'll give you a problem on area, then the same problem, kukuhanin ko lang siya, then gagawin ko naman siyang volume. Lalagyan ko lang siya ng axis of revolution. So which means, tipid na kayo sa pag-graph kasi may graph na kayo nung nauna. You get my point?
Yes po, sir.
And then, you get the points of intersection, of course. And that can be done by substitution. You see it right again from our discussion on the area. Okay, and then you draw the equation, or you draw the curve, and it will look like this. Saan daw natin iikot? And this is to be revolved over this line. Okay, and then, yeah, that's the axis of revolution. So we revolve it. This is the element chosen. Obviously, this can easily be solved if we use element vertical. So we draw the element. So volume, you recall that volume is 2 pi integral of r h d nakatayo x from A to B. So from here, this is the element chosen to the axis of revolution. That's your r. And this one is your h. Again, the axis of revolution is the y-axis. Therefore, r is x. H, the element chosen is vertical. So that's y upper minus y lower. Okay, that's it. As simple as that. And that's your h. That's your dx. And this is the solid. That's it. Right. Then, again, all right. R is x because the axis of revolution is the y-axis, and h is y upper minus y lower. Okay, then, yeah. Kita nyo, i-multiply nyo lang. You don't need to take the square of it. So we are taking, we are solving the volume from the leftmost 0 to the rightmost, which is 2. Okay, then pasok lang. So you have 2x squared minus x cubed dx from 0 to 2 pi. Then 2x cubed over 3 minus x to the 4 over 4 from 0 to 2. Then multiply by 2 pi. Yan. 2 cubed, it's 8 times 2, 16. Minus 2 to the 4, 16. Over 4, it's 4. 10 times 2 pi. 3 times negative 4, negative 12. 16 minus 12, it's 4 times 2, that's 8. So volume is 8 pi over 3 cubic units. Okay? And I'll show it to you. Oops. Okay, you take a screenshot of that. Then, let's modify the problem. Let me see. We try to revolve it here. Sa x equals 2. Is it? All right, here. Okay na ba tayo? Question? Clarification?
Wala
Wala na po.
Okay.
Wala naman po.
Diretso tayo ha. Don't worry. I-upload ko na lang to sa where do you wanna watch this para ma-review nyo ulit. Google Drive na lang or sa YouTube channel ko, pero naka-hide lang. Ang tawag doon? Naka-enlisted? Naka-enlisted. Kapag naka-enlisted kasi, kung sino lang yung papasahan ko ng link, kung sino lang yung kung sino lang yung papasahan ng link, sila lang yung makaka-access. If you want to. But then again, may video naman tayo ng ng volume. But if you want to, kasi mas maganda yung discussion dito, pasagal nga lang. Kasi like 3 hours na 2 hours na tayo dito. Anyway. Okay? So this time, we're going to revolve it over the line x equals 2. Okay? Still, this can easily be solved by using element vertical. Why? Because kapag horizontal, dalawang hati. Okay? And this is the solid that we are referring to. Where's that? Yan. It's just like, parang pakpak ng angel. So we draw the element. You ready? Again, how do we define R from the formula? 2 pi RHD, this time it's nakatayo, dx. How do we define R? Distance?
Distance of element to axis of revolution po.
So, alin yon? Di ito yon, right? So, ito ay h. Ito ay dx. If the axis of revolution is the y-axis, what is R?
X po.
X
X
po.
po.
But when you see it right here, the axis of revolution is no longer the y-axis, but the line x equals 2. Okay? Then gagamitin natin yung division of line segment theorem. Okay? So I'll make use of other color to make it easily. Okay? So from this point, going to this point is how much?
2 po.
2 po.
2 po.
What is the distance of the element to the axis of revolution? What is mali, sorry. What is the distance of the element to the y-axis?
X po.
X po. So what can you say now? So you have x plus r equals 2. X plus r equals 2. So what is r? 2 minus x. Okay? So that's it. So what can you now conclude? Kapag ang axis of revolution is the y-axis, r is equal to x. If the axis of revolution is no longer the y-axis, but any line on the right side, so you have 2 minus x. Or say it's, let me see, it's x naught. X naught minus x. Whatever the value of that x naught. You get me right? Paano pag nasa kaliwa?
Plus po.
Plus po. That's it. Kapag nasa kaliwa, plus. Okay? Kasi hahaba yun. Okay? Kung nasa second quadrant. Pero paano kapag nasa kaliwa, pero first quadrant pa rin? Halimbawa, ito siya. Ito yung sinasabi nyo. Ito yung axis of revolution. Ito si y-axis na nakaganito. Okay? So, it's plus kasi ito ay x. Okay? Ito yung axis of revolution. Ito yung r. Yan. So, ipa-plus mo. Kung ano, ito pala yung x, sorry. This is x. Ito ay kung anong value. Halimbawa, ito ay negative 2. Ay, ito ay 2. So, kaya magiging plus yung r mo. R is x plus 2. Ang r mo dyan ay x minus negative 2. Kasi ito ay negative 2. Kaya siya ay x plus 2. Okay? Right? So, paano kapag ito yung y, halimbawa, ganito yung drawing natin. Y-axis. Na andito pa yung graph. Ito yung element. Ito yung axis of revolution. Ito yung R, obviously. Alin ang X ngayon? Halimbawa, ang axis of revolution ay X equals 2. Pero nasa kanan, ng y-axis. So ito ay, how long is this? Obviously, 2 units. Ito yung x. So how do you write x? X equals r plus 2. So how do you write r? It's x minus 2. Okay? You see the difference? Okay? Yeah? Generalize natin. If the axis of revolution is the y-axis, then r is equal to x. If the axis of revolution is on the right side of the region and on the right side of the y-axis, then r is, halimbawa ay c minus x. C minus x. If the axis of revolution is on the left side of the y-axis, meaning on the negative quadrant, so therefore, what is r? R is c plus x. That's your r. C plus x. If the axis of revolution is on the right side of the y-axis, but on the left side of the region, r is x minus c. Ulit. You get it right? Ulitin pa. Okay na.
Isa pa po.
I-drawing na lang natin. Barahin ko muna ha. Alisin ko muna sila. Ito siya. Region. Ito lang gagamitin ko. Illustration. Region. Then axis of revolution. AR. And then, where can I see the element? Okay. Ito siya. If this is the y-axis, r is equal to x. Okay? Say y-axis, region, element, axis of revolution. So this is the line x equals c. So r is equal to c minus x. Okay, the next y-axis, region, element, axis of revolution. X equals c. AR. So that's negative c na. So therefore, r is x plus c. Isa pa. Y-axis, axis of revolution, region, element. Then r is equal to, again, ito yung x, mahaba, from here hanggang doon, that's your x. Ito ay x equals c, so ito ay c. Okay, hold on. Ito ay c, units. Ito yung r, and then ito yung x. Okay, so we have x equals c plus r, and therefore r is where am I? X minus c. Okay, yan. Screenshot nyo. Tatandaan nyo lagi. I mean, you just identify the position kung nasaan. Okay, done? You're done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay na? Okay. Balikan natin to. And that's your R. And this is your X from the element to axis of revolution R. Element to the y-axis, that's X. Axis of revolution to the y-axis, it's 2. So therefore, 2 equals X plus R. And therefore, R equals 2 minus X. And then we can now draw the volume. H is 2 minus x squared. So that's y upper, 3x minus x squared minus y lower, that's x. And then volume. Plug it on. Multiply nyo lang. And then integrate. And then everything here will become 0. And then It will become 8 pi over 3. That's the volume. One thing that you need to consider is the element. Element muna, no? Kasi you just follow kung yung rules in choosing the element, kung saan kokonti ang hati, then you use it. And then saka nyo naisipin kung siya ay parallel or perpendicular. And then after you draw their relationship, you identify is the element touching or not or parallel, okay? And then you can decide what method you're going to use. And that's the end of the presentation. I'll discard it. I'll be using that later. Okay, and then I'll stop recording. Oh, why? Hello? Ba't ito mapupunta kay ano? Donna? Can you hear me?
Yes po, sir.
Can I make a request? Sa'yo ito masisave eh. Hindi ko alam kung bakit sa'yo. Sino bang nauna sa group? Sinong nauna dito?